Hi, this is Scott from Spectre Gear with another Tactical Shotgunner Pro Tip. Today we're going to be talking about another type of loading technique. In this case, it's going to be an emergency reload, or what to do when you run your gun completely dry. Now, I've done other videos where I talked about the concept of shoot one, or load what you shoot. And in that, I talked about a way to keep the gun up and running and as topped off as possible throughout an entire situation. But what I want to talk about today is what happens when you run the shotgun completely dry, completely empty. So there's a couple of ways of handling that. One I've talked about before, but I want to show it very specifically here, and I'll go ahead and show that first. And this should be your first response should you run your gun completely dry, and it'll look a little something like this. Now, if at any point, and that's the basic drill for any long gun, if at any point your long gun stops running, whether it's a malfunction, whether the gun's out of ammunition, if you're under duress, if you're under fire, your first response should always be to transition to your sidearm. But what happens if it's a different type of scenario? And in this case, we're talking about something like a home defense situation. And in that, you don't have a sidearm. You have grabbed your gun at 3 o'clock in the morning, someone's trying to take your front door down, and the only thing you have to solve that situation is what you just grabbed. You're going to go immediately to the situation. So you have a shotgun, and you're going to have to solve that problem with whatever's in or on that shotgun. So if you've got the gun fully loaded, and you've got something like a side saddle or a buttstock shell holder, you've got a little bit of extra ammo to help you solve the problem. So in that case, you don't have a sidearm to rely on. So how do you get back into the fight as quickly as possible? And that's what I'll show you now. So what it would look like is this. Nothing. So it's gone dry. Heard click instead of bang. I realize I'm out of ammunition. The first thing I'm going to do is drop a round in there. I know that I don't have anything loaded in the tube, and that's called a port load. Now there's two ways to do a port load. The port load can be done over the top or under the bottom. Now, one thing you need to keep in mind with doing this port load is if you're using your conventional traying technique like this, if you try to come over the top, it's going to be backwards. So if that's something that you want to do, you're going to have to develop an alternative method for that. And this is something that you would train for separately, but from a side saddle, it would look like this. I'm going to thumb the round down, and I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to turn it over in my hand so that the crimp is facing towards the pinky, and I'm going to drop it right in, and then I'm going to run the action forward and press the shot. Now from there, if I wanted to do an alternative method and come under the bottom, the only reason I don't like the bottom technique is it's too easy to bump or miss or just fire this thing right over the top of the gun. So I tend to like to drop it in just like that. But if you're going to come under the bottom of the gun, you would tray, come up over, drop it in, run forward, and then you can do it like so. But the whole idea here is to get one in the chamber. So if you get one in the chamber, that gets one down range. Now, if you have the time to get one in the chamber and you have the time to load more in, of course, by all means, do so. But you could conceivably go through a situation just simply porting the gun over the top and just port loading throughout the entire situation. It's something you want to experiment with and play around with, but it's definitely something you want to know how to do. So with that, take it as it is. I happen to like the top method versus the under method a little bit more, but just keep in mind, it is going to take learning how to reverse that round and drop it in with the crimp facing forward or the slug facing forward. So with that, I'll go ahead and bring it to a close. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.